All right, so you're getting ready for a gambling games developer interview,
Yeah.
and we've got a ton of resources from RoleCatcher to help you navigate what can be a pretty exciting,
Yeah.
but also kind of intimidating world.
It really is a field that kind of combines a lot of things.
Right.
It's creative and technical, and you really have to have a good understanding of psychology.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're hoping to unpack in this deep dive.
Huh.
We'll take apart all those difficult interview questions
Right.
and use some insider info on what those interviewers are actually looking for.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll sprinkle in some career insights along the way.
Think of us as your cheat sheet to not just answering those questions, but really understanding what's behind them.
Exactly. So let's jump right in with the first question.
Okay.
Can you explain your experience with developing gambling games?
Right.
Sounds simple enough, but I bet there's a lot more to it.
You're right. It's not enough to just list the games you've worked on. They want to see some depth. They want to know what your specific role was in those projects, what technologies you used.
Oh.
Talk about your tech stack.
Uh-huh.
Be ready to talk about challenges you face and how you overcame them.
So it's not just about technical skills, it's about problem solving.
Exactly. And then they might follow up with something like, what was the most innovative feature you implemented in a gambling game?
Okay.
So be prepared to talk about your creativity there,
Yeah.
highlight those features that maybe enhanced the player experience or solved a particular problem.
Yeah, I guess it's about being able to think outside the box and really push the boundaries of game design.
Right. And that leads right into the next question.
Okay.
How would you design a slot machine game that appeals to a younger demographic?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is where you have to show that you understand different demographics.
Right.
Younger audiences might be drawn to different themes, aesthetics, even game mechanics than somebody who's a more seasoned player.
Uh-huh.
Think about incorporating things from pop culture,
Yeah.
maybe social interaction,
Yes.
skill-based elements, things that appeal to their interests.
So it's really about being able to step into the shoes of your audience
Yes,
and design an experience that works for them.
exactly. And that's really crucial for any game developer. It doesn't matter what genre.
Okay, so this next one is a little bit more technical. Explain how a random number generator, RNG, ensures fairness in gambling games.
Right.
And this is kind of a fundamental concept, isn't it?
It really is. You have to be able to explain how RNGs work,
Okay.
what they do in generating unpredictable outcomes, and how they ensure that games are not biased towards the house or the player.
So it's not enough to just know that RNGs exist.
Right.
You need to understand how they work and be able to explain it clearly.
Exactly. They might even ask you to describe different kinds of RNG algorithms or how you would actually test an RNG to make sure it's random.
That's where that deep technical knowledge really comes in handy.
Absolutely. So let's get into this next one. What are some key considerations when developing gambling games for mobile platforms?
Okay, yeah, mobile gaming is huge these days.
It is.
So I bet there's a ton of challenges and considerations that are unique to that.
There really are. You have to think about screen size limitations, touch-based controls, performance optimization.
Right.
You want to create a seamless experience across all the different devices and operating systems.
So you need to understand the limitations of mobile, but also the opportunities.
Yes.
And design specifically for that environment.
Precisely. All right, next question.
Okay.
This one really gets into player psychology.
Oh.
How do you design a gambling game that encourages responsible gambling practices?
This seems like something you're really passionate about.
I am, as game developers, we have a responsibility to make games that are fun, but also encourage responsible behavior.
Right.
So, think about adding things like spending limits, timeout options, clear information about the odds of winning.
So it's all about empowering players
Yes,
to make good decisions and enjoy the game without falling into bad habits.
Exactly. And that's something interviewers are going to look for.
Okay.
Your awareness of those ethical implications of what you're doing and your commitment to creating a positive player experience.
Yeah, it's not just about building a fun game. It's about building a responsible one.
All right, let's move on to the next question. This one focuses on a very specific type of game.
Okay.
Describe your experience in developing card games, particularly poker.
Poker. Oh, that's such a classic.
Yeah.
I bet there's so much that goes into developing a digital version of that.
You need a deep understanding of the rules, the different poker variants, the strategies involved.
Right.
They'll probably want to know about your experience developing AI opponents, implementing betting systems,
Okay.
and just creating a really realistic and engaging poker experience.
You want to show your passion for that particular genre of game.
Exactly. And that's a great way to bring in RoleCatcher's AI.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you're having trouble articulating your experience with poker game development. RoleCatcher can analyze sample answers and give you feedback that's tailored to poker-specific roles.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So it's not just generic advice, it's really targeted to the job you're applying for.
Exactly. It can highlight keywords and phrases that are commonly used in poker game developer job descriptions.
Wow.
And that helps you tailor your responses so that they'll really resonate with recruiters and hiring managers.
That's a game changer.
It is, and here's another cool feature.
Yeah?
RoleCatcher can look at your CV and tell you what areas you might need to work on based on typical requirements for gambling games developer roles.
Uh-huh.
Like maybe you need to play up your experience with a particular game engine or your knowledge of certain programming languages.
That's so helpful. It's like having a personal career coach.
It really is, and that's what we're all about here.
Yeah.
Giving you the knowledge and tools to succeed in this exciting field.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's keep going.
Keep going, all right.
Welcome back. So we're right in the middle of these gambling games developer interview questions.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what's really resonated with you so far?
I think it's really interesting how it's not just about technical skills.
Right.
It's about really understanding the player,
Yes.
designing for responsible gambling, and even knowing the ins and outs of specific game genres like poker.
Exactly. And that brings us right into our next question,
Okay.
which is, how do you approach testing and debugging in a gambling game, especially when real money is involved?
That's a good one. The stakes are definitely a lot higher
They are.
when you're dealing with real money.
Right.
You can't have glitches or errors that might mess with the fairness of the game,
Of course.
or even worse, cost players money.
Exactly. So this is where your attention to detail and your knowledge of all the different testing methods comes in.
Right.
So think about things like unit testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing.
Okay, so can you break those down a little bit?
Sure.
What are the key differences and why are they all so important?
So unit testing focuses on the individual parts of the code, making sure each little bit works like it's supposed to. Integration testing checks how all those different parts work together.
Uh-huh.
And then user acceptance testing, that's where you get actual players in there
Right.
to test the game and identify problems from their perspective.
So it's kind of a multi-layered approach
It is.
to making sure the experience is smooth and fair.
Exactly. And don't forget about regression testing.
Right.
You always want to make sure that after you change or update the game, you haven't accidentally introduced new bugs.
Yeah, you've got to maintain the game's integrity.
Yes, exactly.
Huh.
Now imagine they ask you to describe a challenging bug you encountered in a gambling game and how you solved it.
Okay, so this is my chance to show off those problem-solving skills.
It is walk them through your process.
Okay.
How did you identify the bug, find the source of the error, and then come up with a solution?
I think this is also a good opportunity to highlight collaboration.
Right.
Did I work with other developers? Did I use any specific debugging tools?
Exactly. And that's something that RoleCatcher can help you with.
Oh, really? How so?
RoleCatcher has this massive database of interview responses from successful gambling games developers.
Okay.
And its AI can analyze those responses and find common themes and approaches for questions like this one.
So it can help me structure my answer in a way that interviewers are going to like.
Exactly. It can even help you anticipate follow-up questions.
Okay.
So you're totally prepared with specific examples and can really show off that technical expertise.
Awesome. So moving on, let's talk about security.
Yeah.
A pretty common question, I imagine, is how do you ensure the security of player data and financial transactions in a gambling game?
Definitely security is critical in any online platform.
Right, especially when there's money involved.
Especially when there's real money involved. Players have to trust that their information and their money are safe.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So what are some important things to mention when answering this question?
Well, you can talk about things like encryption protocols like SSL/TLS. To protect data in transit, mention secure payment gateways. Fraud prevention measures highlight your knowledge of industry standards like PCI DSS for handling all that sensitive payment info.
So basically, you're creating a secure and trustworthy environment.
Right.
Where players can have fun without worrying about their information.
Exactly. And that leads us into our next question, which is all about game design.
Okay.
How do you approach designing a compelling and engaging user interface, UI, for a gambling game?
Yeah, UI is so important.
It really is.
It's how the player sees the game world. It needs to be easy to use, look good,
Right.
and make the gameplay even better.
It all has to work together. So this question gives you a chance to show off your knowledge of UI/UX principles and your ability to design interfaces that are both functional and engaging.
So what are some of the main things to keep in mind when designing UI for a gambling game?
Well, think about clarity and ease of navigation.
Right.
Players need to be able to find what they need quickly and understand how to use the game. The layout has to be intuitive and visually appealing with clear calls to action and a consistent look and feel.
Okay, what about aesthetics?
Oh, absolutely. The visuals should match the theme of the game and appeal to your target audience. Think about color schemes, typography, imagery that all enhance the mood and atmosphere.
You're really trying to create an immersive experience.
Yes, that draws players in and keeps them engaged.
Absolutely. And of course, you want to make sure the UI is accessible.
Yes, of course.
So you need to think about players with different abilities.
Right, different visual abilities, cognitive abilities, motor skills. You want everyone to be able to enjoy the game.
So how can RoleCatcher's AI help with this?
Right.
Like the whole UI/UX design part of a job application?
That's a great question. So while RoleCatcher doesn't actually give feedback on your visual designs, it can analyze your descriptions of your design process and highlight keywords and phrases that show you understand those important UI/UX principles.
So even though I can't show my portfolio directly through RoleCatcher, I can still use it to explain my design thinking and approach.
Exactly, and make it something that potential employers will connect with.
Awesome. Okay, so on to the next question.
All right, so this one really explores your understanding of different game genres. One of the key differences in design considerations between slot games and sports betting applications.
Ooh, interesting. They do seem like very different games.
They are. Slot games are all about chance and instant gratification.
Right.
But sports betting is more strategic. It requires understanding the odds and probabilities.
So for slots, it's about cool themes.
Yes.
Exciting bonus features and fast-paced gameplay that keeps them spinning.
Exactly. Whereas for sports betting, it's about giving players a lot of information about the different sports, leagues, and the betting options, as well as tools that help them analyze the odds and make informed bets.
So you're catering to different types of players with different goals.
Yes, exactly. And a good gambling games developer will understand those nuances.
Yeah, because you might end up working on all sorts of different game genres.
That's right. Okay, next question.
All right.
This one focuses on a specific area of expertise.
Okay.
Describe your experience in developing lottery games, particularly in ensuring fairness and transparency.
Okay, so lottery games have some unique challenges.
They do.
When it comes to being fair and transparent. Because the stakes are so high.
Right.
And players need to know that the outcome is totally random.
Exactly. So what are some of the key things to think about when you're developing a lottery game? Well, first of all, you need a really solid random number generator, RNG, to make sure those winning numbers are random and can't be messed with. You also need to have clear rules and procedures for running the lottery, picking winners, and giving out prizes.
All about building trust with the players.
Exactly, and that's super important in the lottery world because players are entrusting you with their dreams.
Okay, so how can RoleCatcher help me get ready for a question like this?
Okay.
Especially if I don't have any experience with lottery games.
Even if you've never worked on lottery games specifically, you can still use your knowledge of game development and your understanding of fairness and security to give a great answer.
So I can talk about my experience with RNGs in other games. How I handle data securely. And how I make sure my designs are transparent.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can help you find those keywords and phrases from your experience that fit with the requirements of lottery game development.
Awesome.
It can also help you structure your answer to highlight your transferable skills and show that you can adapt to new game genres.
That's really helpful. It shows I'm willing to learn and grow.
Exactly, and that's something any employer will appreciate.
All right, let's move on to a question about multiplayer gaming.
Okay.
Describe the challenges and considerations involved in developing a multiplayer poker game.
Now, multiplayer games add a whole other level of complexity.
Yeah, because you're not just dealing with AI.
Right, you've got real people interacting.
You've got real players interacting in real time, which brings in a bunch of technical and design challenges.
So what are some of the biggest challenges with a multiplayer poker game?
Network latency is a huge one.
Okay.
You need to make sure the game runs smoothly for everyone.
Right.
No matter where they are or what their internet connection is like. Security is also a major concern.
Right.
You have to prevent cheating and make sure everyone's on a level playing field.
And what about the social aspect of it all?
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
You need to think about things like chat features, player avatars, ranking systems that enhance that whole social experience and make players feel like they're part of a community.
So you're creating a whole environment for interaction and competition.
Exactly, and it's not easy.
So how can RoleCatcher's AI help me prepare for this kind of question?
All right.
Especially if I don't have direct experience with multiplayer poker. Well, RoleCatcher's AI is really good at understanding industry trends.
Yep.
It can give you insights into the common problems and solutions in multiplayer gaming, even if you haven't faced those specific issues yourself.
So it helps me understand the bigger picture.
It does.
And talk about my knowledge in a way that connects to the question.
Exactly. And it can help you point out skills from your past experience.
Okay.
That would be useful in multiplayer game development, like your understanding of networking principles, your experience with server-side architecture, or your ability to design for scalability.
That's awesome. It's all about showing how my experience fits what they're looking for.
Yes, and that's one of the things RoleCatcher's AI does best. It helps bridge that gap between your skills and what those potential employers want.
Amazing. Okay.
Oh, great.
We've gone over so much in this deep dive.
We have.
It feels like we've only just started to explore this whole world of gambling games.
It's true. Game development is such a huge and constantly changing field.
Yeah, and we've talked about everything from RNGs to responsible gambling to UI UX design.
And we've seen how RoleCatcher's AI can really give you a leg up in the whole job application process.
Yeah, it's like having a guide and mentor right there with you, helping you fix up your resume, practice your answers, and show off your best skills.
Exactly. But even with all the tools and resources, it's really your passion, your creativity, and your problem-solving abilities that will make you stand out.
Right. Those are the things interviewers are looking for. That spark that makes a great game developer.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's focus on some final tips to help you nail that interview and get your dream job.
Okay. Give it to me. What are your top recommendations?
Well, first of all, do your research on the company.
Okay.
Understand their games, who they're targeting, what their company culture is like.
So show them you're genuinely interested and you've done your homework.
Exactly. Also, prepare some thoughtful questions to ask them.
Okay.
That shows you're engaged and want to learn more.
It's also a good way to see if the company's a good fit for you.
Right. And don't forget to practice your answers out loud.
Okay.
It'll help you fine-tune your delivery and feel more confident when you're actually in the interview.
Yeah, it's amazing how much better something sounds when you've practiced it a few times.
It really is. And most importantly, be yourself.
Okay.
Let your passion and enthusiasm shine through.
Authenticity is so important.
It is. Interviewers can totally tell if you're forcing it or being too rehearsed.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
And this is where RoleCatcher can really boost your confidence.
All right.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
So RoleCatcher's AI can listen to your practice responses and give you feedback on your delivery, your tone, and what you're saying.
It's like having an interview coach in your pocket.
It really is. The AI can tell you things like maybe you're using too many filler words. Or you could speak a little more clearly or give more specific examples.
Well, it helps you perfect how you present yourself.
Exactly, and make sure you're getting your message across. That's so valuable. But also remember that the interview goes both ways.
It does.
You're also trying to figure out if the company's right for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just about impressing them. It's about finding a place where you can really thrive and use your talents.
That's so true. So as you start your job search, remember, you've got the skills, the passion, and the resources to be successful.
And RoleCatcher is here to help you every step of the way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was great to be here.
We hope it's been helpful and given you the confidence to go out there and get that job.
We do remember the world of game development is full of opportunities.
It is.
And your journey is just beginning.